Raw. Aaron goes, oh my God. Extreme. Why would you say this?
Amusing. Yes, I want to be clear. I still don't think the orb slapped him in the face.
We are Guide to the Unknown, and these are our Ghost Adventures.
Hello, welcome to Ghost Adventures. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we're talking about episode 6 of the show, which takes place at an unnamed northern New Jersey former psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to see a somewhat classically ghosty environment.
Yeah. We haven't really, we've had houses, obviously.
Sure.
But it's not like we've had a haunted mansion yet or anything like that. It does seem like the ghost hunters bingo to finally go to an abandoned psychiatric facility.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll definitely get into it. But I also felt like this episode was like the preeminent. If you needed to show somebody an episode of Ghost Adventures that plays to everybody's expectations, I think it might be this one. They were especially bro-y.
Yes.
It was a little dopey.
Yes.
I also didn't buy a bunch of it.
Yes.
But it was very fun.
I absolutely agree. Even their little cold open being like on this episode, I was like, whoa. I felt like it felt very promising right off the bat and very chaotic.
1,000% agreed.
I feel came to pass.
It was ridiculous.
Yes, this was a silly episode. It definitely picked back up the pace from last week's Sloss Furnaces, which we both felt was a little bit low key.
Yeah, more like slog furnaces.
Right. They came in high key for this one.
Yes, but speaking of Sloss Furnaces, we covered Sloss Furnaces not only last week on Ghost Adventures, but we did a tie-in, a little crossover with our mothership podcast, Guide to the Unknown. Kristen and I, it's out right this second if you want to go find it and listen to it. Kristen and I did our own dive into the Sloss Furnaces story. On Guide to the Unknown, Kristen and I have been doing 140 plus episodes all about paranormal events, ghosts, monsters, the stories behind pop culture movies like The Exorcist that are supposedly cursed. And yeah, on this previous episode, we decided to double back to do our take on Zak Bagans' evidence. So if you enjoy what we're doing here on Ghost Adventures, definitely subscribe to Guide to the Unknown.
That's right. You can find all the links you need to at gttupod.com. So definitely check that out and also follow us on social media at gttupod and also join our private Facebook group, the Guide to the Unknown Secret Society, where people are also talking about ghost adventures. So that's all that. Let's get into the summary of this episode that will set us up and get us ready to talk about the investigation.
Yeah, tell us, Kristen, what happened in this show?
What happened here? Okay. New Jersey represent. The crew visits an abandoned psychiatric facility that spans 90 acres, by far the biggest location they've investigated. The hospital closed its doors without entirely cleaning house, so there are some items and effects from former residents around, making it feel extra creepy. Also, I'm editorializing, but is there a greater chance of hauntings if the personal items of the ghosts are around? There's also a bunch of creepy graffiti, and everything is connected by underground tunnels, so basically this place is right out of central casting. Thousands of patients lived there with a range of mental illnesses and severities. Since it was built at the turn of the century, we didn't address mental health the way we do today, and there were people locked away against their will en masse who may not have actually been unwell, and therapies we now regard as barbaric were utilized there. The environment is described as having been prison-like and not necessarily well kept. The heat went out at one point, and multiple residents died from the cold. There were well over 10,000 deaths at the facility over the span of its run. As for hauntings that people have encountered since then, nurses in turn-of-the-century outfits have been seen, people have had a sense of somebody running by them, and people have felt like they've been watched. The sound of yells for help have been heard from the tunnels when they have been abandoned for years, so nobody is down there. Well, guess what? Papa's home, and he's ready to talk to some frickin' ghosts.
Oh my God. And they really do. They get a lot of EVPs in this episode.
Yes, this is an EVP heavy one.
Yeah, which I think is probably going to be the thing to lead off our first segment, right?
Yeah, I think so. So let's talk about the most convincing piece of evidence.
most convincing piece of evidence.
All right, Will, what stood out to you first?
I really only have the one. Because to me, they caught a lot of EVPs, or, so they say, whatever. But, EVPs are probably the thing I'm most skeptical of. It's just very hard for me to, I don't know, get a foothold. What am I hearing? I can't really decipher them. I usually have to be told what they're saying.
Right.
However, in this episode, they get a very loud and clear EVP. Typically, you have to leave the recorder on. And from your own point of view, it's almost as if you're just recording ambient sound of an empty room.
Right.
And it's not until later that you process the audio and you can hear the voice that's buried inside that audio file. But in this episode, they hear it loud and clear with their own ears, and it creates one of the best moments on the show up to this point. Every episode that we've watched. They're walking through one of the corridors, and Zak is asking a question of some sort. He kind of just goes like, hey, if you don't like me, come and give me a push or pinch me. I like that.
A push and a pinch.
A push and a pinch. And then they hear a voice go, hello? And it is so clear. I genuinely thought that it must be another person. I thought maybe this episode would pivot and suddenly the Ghost Adventures crew was running into somebody else who's investigating the asylum. But no, there's no one around. So a female voice saying hello, it sounded clear. It was defined, unmistakable. To me, the absolute best thing that they captured.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was also my most convincing thing. And it was kind of in the midst of a lot of stuff happening. It wasn't one of the more chaotic moments of the show where the camera is all like, but it happened after Nick was saying that he felt very sad.
Yeah.
And he asked Zak if he felt sad in this hallway. And then not long after they hear that voice that you and I could hear clearly, not just as an EVP, they heard a noise from down the hallway, like a door slammed or made a noise or something. So it almost seemed like they had walked into some sort of like pocket of activity in that hallway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a smorgasbord of stuff going on right there. But in particular, that voice saying hello was really, it was cool. It was fun. It was a little spooky. I also seriously was like expecting to see a human being come around the corner or something and be like, oh my God.
Right.
We're bumping into each other. But no, in that moment, right after they hear it, Zak starts flipping out and he turns and you see Aaron, who's wearing a mask, and his face is like an inch away from Zak's camera. And Zak goes, did you just hear that? And Aaron goes, uh-huh. Oh my God. And it's hilarious, but
loved it.
He was also
said that.
He was clearly terrified.
Yes, he has zero chill. He's like, "Oh my God."
I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
He's delightful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a most convincing piece of evidence. This is my only other one that started off as least convincing, and to call it most is maybe a little bit generous, but I ended up thinking about it in a different way and I was surprised by it. So, not unlike you, I am also very skeptical of EVPs and I'm also very skeptical of orbs, whether in photos or captured by camera or whatever. So, there's a point in the show, kind of late in the show, where they posit that an orb has slapped Nick in the face.
Oh my God, this is your best piece of evidence?
I mean, to say best, like I said, is not quite accurate. But when they talked to the analyst who they brought tape to take a look and see what they thought, he made a point about it that I was like, actually, that's kind of interesting. I hadn't really thought about that way. So just to give you guys a little recap of what happened, Nick locks himself in the morgue section of this psychiatric hospital. He's on one of those tables that you slide into, like a big box and close a door. And while he's in there, he's freaking out. And when he comes out, they're like, oh, you have like red on your face. It's like in the shape of a hand, which it's certainly not distinctly in the shape of a hand.
No.
But as I was looking at it, I was like, okay, I guess if I factually knew, not even in a ghost situation, if I factually knew somebody had been slapped in the face and then their face looked like this, I suppose I would think that was an appropriate skin reaction. Okay, sort of, whatever. And then they roll some tape and they say, you can see this orb go on to Nick's back. So flies from the side, goes in and touches his lower back. Then it comes back out, touches his upper back, and then seems to kind of move to the back of his neck and his face. Did this orb cause the slap mark on Nick's face? I was like, give me now an orb is slapping?
Yeah.
How is that even possible? I still don't think that's possible, but here is what the analyst said about it that made me, I don't know, it made me think a little bit differently about it. He's looking at the video and he says that you can see that the orb kind of moves backwards and then moves back forward, almost like it was making a decision or something. So almost like a wind up and then the pitch sort of action. And I was like, that is actually kind of interesting. Like it does kind of touch him. It moves backward and then it sort of zooms forward. I was like, all right, I kind of see what they're saying there. That does seem like a weird sort of trajectory for a dust mote to take. But like I said, it's a loose best evidence, but still I couldn't put it in worst anymore because of that.
A dust mote?
A dust mote.
Might?
No, mote.
Dust mote?
Yeah.
Are you
think
sure?
So. I was. Let me see. I'm going to look it up.
A dust mote.
Yeah.
There's all these motes in here. Open a window.
Hang on.
Get these dust motes out of my face.
Dust mote. Okay. It autofills. Dust motes. Okay, there's a song by somebody who goes simply by James called Dust Motes. Yeah. Dust motes in a beam of light. They slow down time. Snowflake on a black wool glove melting in the sunlight. What are dust motes?
I have never heard that term.
Motes are as tiny as dust particles. Yeah, it's a thing.
Wow.
What are dust motes made of? What is a mote?
Never
it's a small particle, speck, a mote of dust.
Okay,
yes.
You got me. It's like Conan O'Brien fact-checking Jennifer Garner. You got me.
What?
You don't know that?
Wait, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's like a classic talk show clip where Conan O'Brien uses the word snuck, and she goes, sneaked. Snuck is not a word. You should know this. And so when they come back from commercial, Conan's got a dictionary, and he's pointing to the word snuck, and he gets her on television.
Yeah.
Got her good. You got me. All right, so dust
I do
motes.
remember this, actually. Yes, dust motes.
That landed squarely in my worst evidence category. The slap on the face.
Okay, so you know what? Let's just go there. Let's talk about the worst evidence of the episode.
Worst evidence.
Okay, so give me your thoughts about the orb slapping him in the face.
At best, I would think that maybe you'd develop some sort of a rash on your face from lying on a slab in a morgue for an hour.
Oh, totally. I was thinking that too. I was like, well, maybe for a little while he was on his cheek.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe your face touched something in this disgusting environment.
Yes, I want to be clear. I still don't think the orb slapped him in the face. I don't. But I did find the way that this thing moved make me think that maybe it could be an orb, whatever that is. I don't think it slapped him, though.
I'm
exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm going on record as you saying that orb slap was real.
Nope, that's incorrect.
Hashtag orb slap. An orb clapped his cheeks. Anyway, my biggest worst piece of evidence, as much as I enjoyed it, I was almost offended by the hand that supposedly reached out of Zak's shadow and grabbed him on the arm.
Yes.
No.
That was ridiculous.
In no way, shape, or form is that what occurred. That is not what I saw. I watched the evidence. They replayed it about 40 different times. I didn't need to, but I did it anyway. I rewound to watch the footage from both cameras that captured that moment. It is not true. It is a fabrication. It frustrates me. So what happened for people that either don't remember or did not watch the episode? They're down in the tunnels of the psychiatric facility. The three of them are just walking along. It's Aaron, who's videoing as Nick and Zak are ahead of him. Nick has a camera. Zak has a camera. Zak is in the lead. And Zak, all of a sudden, as they approach just like a sort of opening in this underground tunnel, Zak turns And as he's turning, he jumps. So it already smacked to me of bad acting. As he's turning, suddenly just pivoting to look back at Nick turns into him midway through going, whoa, he goes, did you just grab that hand? That's what he says, which doesn't make sense, but I could chalk it up to be him being so startled and so afraid. So he goes, did you just fudging grab that hand, dude? And Nick goes, what? And he goes, did you just do that? And then he says, a hand came out from right over there. There was a hand. So Zak is flipping out. It gets everybody scared. Now all three of them, the three stooges in the basement of this psychiatric facility, are screaming in the night. There's no one around. Nobody even knows that this is happening. And they review the footage. Zak makes Aaron tape as his camera plays back the footage from Zak's point of view. His shadow is on the wall. And then a hand juts out from behind his shadow. A shadow of a hand, mind you.
Right.
So it's as if somebody was reaching out from behind Zak, and so you can see the shadow of the hand crossing Zak's shadow.
Right, looking like David Copperfield's hand reaching through the Great Wall of China.
Oh my God, amazing. Yes, you're right. And then they review the footage from Aaron's camera, which shows supposedly the exact same moment. You see Zak turn and act all scared and say, did you grab that hand? Which doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And there is no shadow of a hand coming out from Zak's shadow. Zak's camera's point of view shows his shadow like a couple feet away from the edge of the wall when the hand reaches out. That theoretically, what's told to us to be the exact same moment from the point of view of Aaron's camera shows Zak's shadow as being about another foot or two to the left. The shots don't line up. The shadows are not in the same place.
Okay.
And they tell us that they are.
All right. So we haven't talked about it yet, but we're doing a little bit of house cleaning on our categories. We have decided that we are not going to, on a regular basis, include the categories feelings, based on the fact that it's pretty much always us just being like, yep, it looks like they had goosebumps, or Bagans' wardrobe check, because for the most part, it's him wearing the same sort of stuff. But we will include these categories if something really stands out to us. And we're going to stick it in this spot after best evidence and worst evidence. And today, I do happen to have something to say about Zak's clothes. So today, we are going to roll into Bagans' wardrobe check.
Bagans' wardrobe check.
Okay, Will, so it's a quickie, but I just want to point out that we saw something new here today. He didn't just have a shoulder embellishment. It was a full-on sprawling emblem across the front of his shirt. It had like wings and maybe some sort of plaque and all this other crap. And I felt that the chaos of the episode seemed to match the chaos on his shirt.
Oh my God.
And I just wanted to point it out. Also, I've noticed that he really likes to have a design on the back of his shirts. Almost always if there's something going on in the front, he's also got it going on in the back. He wants to give you something to look at as he's walking away. Later on in the episode, we're back to just a shoulder embellishment. And we also get our first introduction of a baseball cap, which is now a Zak Bagans staple in real time.
Oh, thank God he threw away that big floppy hat from last
I mean, do we know? We don't know that he threw it away. I guess we're going to have to see what happens. It wasn't in this episode.
It looked like a little rascal.
It did look like a little rascal.
Yeah.
All right, we can move on, though. Let's talk about the most dramatic moments.
Most dramatic moment.
I think Zak was really laying it on thick.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly pre-lockdown when they're doing their interviews and, somebody's taking them on a tour of the asylum. There's graffiti all over the place because it's been abandoned forever, so people have come in and spray painted. And every time that they see the word death spray painted on the wall, they do like a zoom in on it, like a whoa!
I know. Over and over.
Yeah, and Zak even is like sort of repeating himself. He's like, here we have this lovely word spray painted on the wall here with this lovely arrow pointing in this direction, the direction we're moving in. It's like lovely twice.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. And then he at one point they go into the morgue, so they see those steel drawers that slide in and out. And he goes, is this where they put the bodies? The guy goes, yes, it is. He goes, okay, I just asked you that. It's like,
Well, here's
what?
he said that because he said, I'm not even going to ask you about what these are first. And then they talked about something else. And then he did ask the question. So he was acknowledging, oh, I went back on my word. I actually did ask you.
Whoa. Okay. I can't believe I just said that.
Right.
It's like very hacky.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Just like constantly like over the top, worse than usual, very like totally Ghost Bro. Very Ghost Bro show.
I gotta disagree.
Really?
Yeah, like he wasn't really yelling at ghosts to come at him as much.
No, well, because we also heard last time that or a couple episodes ago, that he doesn't do the provocation unless you're evil.
Right.
But like in terms of the like really trying to sell how dangerous this is, how edgy the environment they're in is, and probably that means that they're really up against it this time. That to me was like up to 11.
Okay. I mean, they definitely leaned into talking about how criminally insane people lived there.
Yeah.
A few times, which I definitely think was meant to emphasize that we're up against some stuff here.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't find him especially broy. I found him like status quo broy.
Oh, really? See, all the stuff where they're like walking around those tunnels. And by the way, again, he's like hunched over. And his arms are sticking out behind him.
That was so funny.
The ceilings are low, so they can't walk upright. But he is ducking down too low. He could have stood up a little bit higher and maybe looked a little more together.
He also, I noticed his arms were behind him a lot, like not clasped behind him, just like to either side behind him while he was walking.
Yes.
Which was funny.
He looked strange.
He looked very goofy.
Yes. More like old man walking. Just weird because he's in like really good shape. You can tell.
He didn't want to bump his noggin.
I guess not. Or maybe his hair's too crispy. He was afraid he'd like puncture a pipe.
Yeah, or he's afraid that one of them would break his hair off because that little shelf is too brittle.
Yeah. My shelf is brittle. Yeah. All that in the tunnel stuff I thought was super dramatic. Aside from that, the only other one that I've got is Nick in the morgue.
Yes, me too. I mean, obviously Nick in the morgue, them closing him into that thing. I kind of couldn't believe they closed him into that. I know that you could have seen that coming, obviously, because it's almost like Chekhov's gun, but still literally closing the door. Ugh.
I really can't believe that they laid down on that slab. You know, maybe they cut it out of the show, but I really hope that they had like some like Purell.
Right, some Clorox wipes.
Yeah, exactly. Can you scrub that slab down before I lie down on it, Zach? Please?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And to close him into it and then walk away. The show presents it as if they've, locked Nick in this thing and then just left the room, gone to a different floor.
Right.
It's bonkers. And eventually, it all culminates in Nick trying to kick the door open and punch it open. And the camera from outside the drawer shows that when he hits it, that drawer case like wobbles. Mm-hmm. But later he'll even go like, I was kicking it as hard as I could. And I sort of felt like, I don't know. Maybe Nick needs his Wheaties or something. Because
you think he would have been able to open the door with a hard kick?
I don't know, but it didn't seem like his hardest kick was quite as strong as I might have thought. Of like somebody in like their 30s. I don't know. Physically fit gentleman. This is like a little anemic.
Yeah. I guess that's true. I didn't even think about it, but that sounds very possible to me.
Yeah.
That whole part was very dramatic. They kind of had like a ticking clock thing going on, not literally but figuratively, because Nick is in that morgue drawer and they can't communicate with him. They try to like get through to him on the walkie and he's not answering at first. So Zach and Aaron want to go find him and get him, but the door between them and him is all of a sudden locked or jammed.
Right.
So then Zach starts pacing around saying he doesn't feel good and that there's something following him. He alternately says there's something following him or there's something following us.
Yeah.
And then he's showing his like goosebumpy arm as proof that something is following. Like it's causing
look at
this.
my
it's here
arms.
right now.
Something is following us. Right.
Right. This shows you that it's following us. Of course, they get to him eventually, but that was all very dramatic.
This episode was ridiculous. It was so over the top. I also like they didn't explain it enough, but Zak trying to open that door, but it's locked, and then sort of pacing around. Then he tries again, and it opens. Like that seems like a huge deal.
Yeah, I would think so too. Like the ghost allowed passage,
Right?
Or was it just jammed and you were panicking too much because you felt like you were being followed, and you calmed down, you're able to get it.
Yeah, it made me wonder if it was like something that they didn't think about in the moment, or they expect people at home to be like, oh, did you catch that? The ghost had the door locked, and then when he tried it again, it was open. So, they probably were so panicked they didn't even think about it. But except it happened so rapid fire that I'd be like, yo, when we tried to get to you, the ghost wasn't letting us. Like, that's huge. And they don't use it.
And then the ghost let us. Well, I wonder if they realized that it was just jammed.
Maybe.
Or something, and they didn't want to include it. I mean, who knows? But yes, that did seem like a big deal to me too.
Right. Yeah. Well, these I wouldn't put anything past these sneaky tricksters now.
Of course, that's right. Everything has changed.
It's all changed between me and Zak.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's so sad when these things happen, but they happen.
It's horrible.
To the best of couples.
I feel horrible. And we were the best.
Yeah.
Me watching him having zero awareness of my existence.
Exactly.
It's been real.
It's a beautiful thing while it lasted. Okay, my only other most dramatic moment is when it's not dramatic in the sense of like a big boom bob, but it stood out to me. During the course of investigating, Zak said that one of their tactics is that they try to build up a lot of emotion, like personal emotion during investigations, because the emotions sort of come off of them like sweat, he said. And they think that ghosts are attracted to that energy.
Right.
So again, I did another flip-flop where I was like, ugh, and I went, huh, like that kombucha girl. You know, the gif of the girl drinking kombucha where she's like, ew, maybe? Ew, I don't know. So first I was like, okay, that would have been better if he didn't say it right before he put himself in a straitjacket, because it seemed just like hokey and like, oh, I'm in a mental institution, I put on a straitjacket kind of thing, like a set piece. But then I thought to myself, well, it does get some emotion going locked into it because he's uncomfortable. He's like a little like, maybe you don't like being locked in there. So if you're trying to provoke emotion within yourself, hoping that it attracts ghosts, locking yourself into something confined and uncomfortable isn't a terrible way to do that.
Yeah, even that, though, sort of broke the rule of we don't provoke spirits that aren't evil. I felt that that was right up there with putting that noose.
I know, it was close to it for me.
Yeah, again, like a very sort of like cartoony, a little too far to literally be putting a straitjacket on Zak Bagans. And he just says things that like aren't cool there. I guess that's more of a strange move.
Yeah. Well, we can go into that. Let's talk about strange moves.
Strange move.
Okay, go ahead.
So here's what he like as he's got the straitjacket on. He's in this room that presumably was sort of like a lockdown, isolation room or something like that, because he says, I know the pain that you went through. I can feel the pain that you went through. I can feel that this straitjacket in a private room didn't feel good. I can't even imagine sitting inside this room. Well, you're doing it right now, one.
Right.
But it's just like, these are people that like, it's sort of a damaging interpretation of mental illness or, I don't know, people who are mentally disabled to just be like, straight jackets and private rooms, like locked down, isolated rooms. Yeah, exactly. It was just very weird, a little tone deaf.
Yes, definitely.
And, hey, great for the outlandish camera shot, I guess. But like, wow. And then he even says to the nurse, the supposed ghost of the nurse, he goes, I need a nurse. Nurse, did you get killed? Did one of the patients like me kill you? Did some crazy patient kill you?
We've heard no story about that. So it's just supposing if they must be crazy people, maybe one of them killed a nurse.
Yeah, but also like a hard pivot from like, I know the pain you went through to some crazy patient get you? Like, oh, now they're not people whose pain you understand. Now they're crazy people.
Yes, like, you're absolutely right.
Oh, Mr. Bagans. Oh, no.
I know. Yikes. Well, let's move to a slightly lighter strange move with Mr. Bagans. Let's talk about when he poked Nick in the eye.
Oh my God, that was great.
Okay. So they're in total blackness. They did, again, I don't know if we mentioned, just like in the previous episode, I think they did it in, where did they go totally black
The
before?
prison.
It might have been, it was the prison? Okay.
Yeah, Mountains-ville
Right,
Penitentiary.
so maybe they like doing this in institutions or something like that. But so they go total blackout. They're only using their night vision cameras and flashlights very sparingly if they have to. And Zach says, Nick, do you have your mask on? Because they were going to some areas that are really old and abandoned and had asbestos in them. And he reaches out maybe to feel Nick's face to see if he's wearing a mask, or maybe just touch him on the arm and get a sense of where he is. And he ends up poking him in the eye. And so like Nick has to go in the corner and his eyes really watery and stuff. And he says it's the first time he's cried during an investigation, which they played to trick me during the advertising of the episode in the cold open, because they made it seem like it was his emotion that choked him up.
Yeah, ghost liars.
Yes, ghost liars.
I was amused by that one because it was a mislead.
Yes.
But you're right, it was also a lie. Him saying this is the first time I've cried, I was like, and then seeing later on that he's like, I feel so sad. Like, I just feel really overcome by sadness in here.
I know.
Manipulation abounds in this episode.
There were a couple of other times where I was like, well, I mean, he could have cried during this. It was during the sadness thing and when he was locked in the morgue.
Right, yeah. They should have pulled this one off the feeds. Don't, they shouldn't have let me see this one.
I'm sorry, Will.
I both loved it from the outlandish, this is a silly ghost show, and was so disappointed. They've really let me down.
Oh, you should let him know.
But it was pretty awesome to see Zach just reach out and doink Nick in the eyes. Again, talk about Three Stooges in this episode. There's literally an eye poke.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's ridiculous. And then Zach turns to the camera and he's like, again, this is the risk you run working in complete darkness.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think he was joking, but just being like extremely dry.
Yes, I think so too. But it's just funny to be like, hey man, maybe don't reach out and touch my face. Just trust me when I tell you whether or not I have the mask on yet. You don't have to touch me, Zach.
Right.
To get proof.
I will give you the information.
This is stuff we won't be doing on Ghost Losers.
No. Oh, absolutely not. This isn't Ghost Losers material, nor caliber.
If and when we lie about evidence, I'll reveal it. Because
we'll just tell you.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, because we're losers.
Yeah.
And we're not keeping up the facade well enough because we're a couple of losers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. I also wanted to point out that when they go down to the tunnels, Zach tells Nick to leave his mask off, even though they're going to the asbestos tunnel, because they need someone to speak clearly for camera.
Yeah, that was funny. Definitely the biggest threat, like seeing all those signs that are like asbestos and like,
oh yeah,
wear a mask, wear a respirator. Like, these are dangerous environments that they're going into. Like, a lot of the risks they're taking are very real. Yeah, absolutely.
I have one last one, and this is really just a strange move on my part, or a strange moment on my part. When Nick locks himself into that morgue thing, there is spray paint on it that says separate words, but one says Phantom and one says Luke, because there were some names just kind of spray painted around. At a glance, when they showed it on night vision camera and it was a little bit blurry, I thought it said Phantom Lube, which reminded me of Demon Sperm, which is very much in the news right now, but it's Phantom and Luke.
Oh my God. Maybe they were predicting Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. He is the Phantom Luke.
He sure is.
All right, so let's move on to our final category and talk best quotes.
Best quotes.
William, would you like to lead us off?
Yeah, sure. So early on, it's pre-lockdown as they're getting walked around the facility by somebody. Zach is talking to this guy that's doing this sort of guided tour for them and telling that story that you cited in the synopsis of hearing a voice crying out, help. But obviously there's nobody around. So Zach turns to the camera and he goes, well, we might be screaming that tonight. Then the score does that thing where they just mash on all the low piano keys, like boom. as if that in and of itself was scary.
We might be doing that tonight.
Well, we might be screaming that tonight. Zach said that to be scary.
Yeah.
And then you did a scare sting on it.
Look, mission accomplished.
Also,
I was scared.
Also, he goes, which way is death? The guy goes, oh, it's this way. Because the joke is that all these arrows pointing down the hall and it says death. And Zach goes, well, that's the way we're going. It was like playful.
Yeah.
It was also like just goofy.
It's very weird. I liked it when he was talking to people in the beginning and he was talking to somebody who was a paranormal investigator and said, do you know we're going to be locked down here tonight? And the guy was like, well, I do now.
Yeah.
And Zach was just kind of like, well, what do you think about that? And the guy said, quote, being in an old psych hospital, you don't know what kind of old spirits are actually floating around. There might be dangerous, angry people in life. There's a chance they could be angry, dangerous people in death. And then Zach said, well, that's exactly what's drawn us to this location because we like that. Okay.
he kept saying simple things like that, like I like that. So at that point early on, where he was like, "You can push me or pinch me, I like that."
I like that.
Really simple, simple language.
Like that Garth Brooks Facebook video. I like that.
I like that. We can have a conversation. I really like that.
Look that up, everybody. It's so good.
Everybody look up Garth Brooks talking about getting on Facebook and then immediately Google Garth Brooks Rocco Bodie from Mega 64.
BOTTE.
See his take on it.
It's fantastic.
I have one here where like they brought out that light. They'd use it in the Houghton Mansion. Houghton Mansion?
Yes.
It's sort of a light that has a particular frequency that's supposed to attract ghosts. So he's using that and he says, okay, if there is a nurse here, if you're a nurse, I need help. I need a lot of help. I need a lot of mental help. I want you to come to this light, sweetie, okay?
I know.
Sweetie.
He always sweeties the ladies.
He's a lady killer.
Yeah, he's making sure that they're comfortable.
Need your help, sweet, and nothing more comforting than some strange man calling you sweetie.
Yeah, absolutely. We love that.
I also love the repetition of I need help, I need a lot of help, I need a lot of mental help.
It was a good ramp up.
It's outstanding.
I also really enjoyed it when they were doing a tour of the facility in daytime, and there was this guy who used to work there, and he's telling them that at one point he felt a cold, tingly feeling pass through him. And Zach says, "You know, that probably was. It's probably a spirit passing through you." And he has like a twinkle in his eye because he knows that's like a little scary.
You know, that probably was. Like if Zach says like, that, you don't even need him to continue from there. You know, if it's Zak Bagans giving you that leading question, you already know the answer. You know, that probably was, right? And you just walk away from him right when he says that because you've already had the full conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, spoiler alert, I know how this one ends. It was a ghost. This is one of the rare times. I think this is my first time that I'm quoting somebody other than Zach. But Nick Groff, alone in that morgue, lying on that slab, at one point, just talking to the air because he's trying to get a ghost to talk. He says, "Now I know how it feels to be dead. It's not fun."
Yep. That was my final quote. So do you have any others?
Oh, I definitely do. But it's so funny to unpack. Like, now I know how it feels to be dead. And you're like, waiting. What's it going to be? It's not fun.
It's not fun.
I can't tell you what it is. I can tell you one thing it's not. Fun.
Also, you don't really know how it feels to be dead. You just know how it feels to be on one of those tables.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not quite right.
You're dead wrong.
They're not experiencing that.
You're dead wrong. Yeah, I've got two more. One is Zach. They go into like a room where the patients used to sleep. So there are beds all over the place. And they think that they heard an EVP of a little girl like singing. So Zach walks over to a bed and he goes, "Is this your bed?"
Oh, yeah.
And then he puts his boots on it He's like stepping on it, and he stands up on it, and he goes, "Am I standing on your bed right now?" It's like, why are you provoking these like sad children who were like cooped up in a psychiatric ward? And then he goes, "Do you want to push me off of it?" And no one did.
No, I'm good. I wonder if they ever, I doubt it. I know the answer is no. Are they ever going to get pushed? Are we going to see them go flying? I doubt it.
Someone got slapped in the face. Nick got slapped in the face.
That's true, but I guess we didn't see it in the moment. You know what I mean? It's not like we saw Nick's face go like, huh, like off to the side. Are we going to see one of them like thrown down?
Oh my God.
I guess we'll have to see.
I guess I hope so. I don't know.
Hard to say.
The last thing that I have is just like, the moment was already tone deaf, and then this just like, you don't even really have to think that hard about it, but it's just like, why would you say this? So we're watching an episode of Ghost Adventures where they went to a psychiatric ward. Not only that, Zak has asked Aaron to put a straitjacket on him. Not only that, they're now leaving Zak alone in like a little isolated room. And Zak at one point, having put himself in that situation, concocted the situation for himself, says, "This is not even cool. Sitting in this thing in this fudging room. This must have been driving you fudging nuts." Says that to a ghost of a mental patient, that it must have been driving them nuts.
Right.
As they reside in this psychiatric ward forever. You don't say that to people that are in a psychiatric ward. Like, boy, is this driving you nuts? Is it driving you nuts being here?
Yeah, is it driving you nuts? Does it make you feel crazy?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
What's going on? What's happening?
Just like Jennifer Aniston said about Brad Pitt, there's a sensitivity chip missing.
Oh, really? She said that?
Yes.
Whoa. That's why he was such a good Tyler Durden, which I bet is one of Zak's favorite movies.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Oh, boy.
Which has Meatloaf in it. And Meatloaf is in the Sloss Furnaces episode of Ghost Hunters, which we talk about on the most recent episode of Guides to the Unknown.
That's right. Yeah.
See? It all ties in.
It sure does. So, hey, we're at the end of this episode of Ghost Adventures, but the party doesn't have to stop. Go subscribe to Guide to the Unknown so that you can continue hanging out with Chrissy and me as we are talking about other paranormal events, other haunted places, things that didn't happen on Ghost Adventures, which is most things. Most things didn't happen on Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, the majority of the topics we've covered have not happened on Ghost Adventures.
Yeah. So you can find Guide to the Unknown on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere that you can find this podcast. If you go to gttupod.com, you can find links to this show, all of our social media, Guide to the Unknown, and even, hey, stuff like our Patreon, which lives on patreon.com/gttupod. And for anybody that joins our Netherworld Warrior level starting at $4 a month, you're going to get access to an entire third secret Guide to the Unknown podcast that's just for our backers over there. You'll get to check in on private live streams, all manner of bonus material. So if you like Ghost Adventures, definitely check out patreon.com/gttupod.
That's right. Thank you so much for joining us. You can find us everywhere on social media. Until next time, at GTTUpod, and individually, I'm at Chillin' Kristen.
I'm at The Myth Traveler. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll definitely see you next time, because we are Guide to the Unknown.
And these are our Ghost Adventures. Right, looking like David Copperfield's hand reaching through the Great Wall of China.
Oh my God, amazing. Yes, you're right.